by not only looking Belgrade and how policies are made there, because that's important too, but also how policies and politics are made in Brussels. And that opens up the orientation, opens up the possibilities for the Serbian people as well to get closer to Europe. They are very close continentally. It's part of Europe.
Right.
But to also get engaged into the politics and the decisions of the European Commission, of the European Parliament, because everything that comes out of Brussels to some degree influence the Balkans, influence politics in Serbia and vice versa. I strongly believe that the United States should support, and I think they do so, the process for Serbia joining the EU, as well as exercising leverages and pressure on the Europeans to also accelerate, because it's a two-way communication, to accelerate the process for getting Serbia into the European Union.
Right, and we were having a little discussion earlier about if there's any doubt as to benefits that Serbia would gain. I mean, certainly the whole world is in an economic crisis, and no country's economy is going to recuperate overnight. But the very important point is that Serbia would certainly gain political power if it was part of the EU. And also importantly, a lot of the Serbian populations who are minorities, whether in Kosovo or in Bosnia and Herzegovina or in Croatia, their rights would also be more supported.
Absolutely.
With that.
Daniel, first of all, it will help Serbia within. Serbia to coordinate its regulations and laws with those of the European Union. So first of all, whom benefits are the people of Serbia. That makes the accession process even easier.
Right.
By step, adjusting all of the laws and regulations within Serbia with that of the European Union. They are not far behind. In some terms, might be even ahead of the European Union. Because I'm not saying that the European Union is this global entity where everybody joins the field of equality. There are discriminations within the EU. So if we look at it as a two-way communication, EU also has to learn a lot from the Serbian people. Second of all, it will give an opportunity to the younger generation of Serbs to, following the visa liberalization, to see more opportunities within the European Union, whether that is employment, whether that has to do with investments, opportunities for business
Professional
people, professional development. More students from the European Union, even the United States, like the program I do, visiting Serbia. That's public diplomacy. That's people's diplomacy.
Probably wouldn't even know some of the benefits that it would eventually bring to Serbia, and hopefully they'll move on it pretty quickly.
There would be some challenges, there is no doubt about it, but who would be the main stakeholder out of those challenges? Who would be gaining the most? Those will be the people of Serbia. There are some critics, there is no doubt about it. There were critics in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. There are Eurosceptics, but that's part of the European Union.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are today.
And you've had experience working there, and you've had experience, the opportunity to see firsthand whether it functions well or not. And in your experience, you feel that it has provided benefits to a lot of countries, and
absolutely
you have a positive experience there.
A lot of benefits for the people in Cyprus, people in Greece, people in Spain, people in Italy, in Ireland. Now, a lot of other folks who might make the argument, but these are the so-called bad economies in Europe. Well, I wouldn't see it that way, because the economic processes, the fiscal policies are very cyclical. And all of these countries within Europe went through economic crisis at one point, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s. I think the Europeans will come out of this crisis much stronger in the next 5 to 10 years, and that's a good time for Serbia to join, to complete, to start and complete.
Right.
It's a key community. It's the opening and closing of the accession negotiation process, and get the country and the people of Serbia closer to the decisions in Brussels and other places.
Mm-hmm. You know, and something occurred to me also in terms of maybe some constructive role that the international community can play. I mean, maybe there needs to be some kind of a Balkans panel discussing how the entire region can move forward economically and politically, and particularly in terms of conflict resolution. What would you say is the key, the essence of success in any kind of negotiation and conflict resolution? What is the key?
Well, many keys. If it's the one key, I have to think a lot. But
Right.
let's go back as to how the European Union was put together. Before it even was called European Union, beginning with the coal and steel production. Germans and the French and the British engaging each other, and that was post-war development,
Mm-hmm.
so kind of a project. So looking at the European Union as a model, then we can juxtapose, we can make the argument that that model must work in the Balkans. And the Europeans should let that happen, should nurture it, should support it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, in few years, perhaps less than a decade,
Mm-hmm.
without being too over optimistic, to see most of the Balkan states, countries, be united within the European Union.
Yeah, and in a way, then you know, perhaps some of the border issues would lose their context if everybody's happy and their economies are prospering and everybody's ethnic rights are secure. People feel safe in
Yes.
their various territories.
In that sense, the European Union can provide, in my opinion, can provide the context for that respect, for reconciliation, for getting the political actors on the table, discussing their differences, finding ways to collaborate. First of all, we have to also think, on top of our list, that the European Union is a compromise-based organization. So in every discussion, in every dispute, in every debate, there must be a compromise outcome. That forces every new member or any new potential member
Mm-hmm.
to get into that mindset. Now, is a compromise solution the most desirable one? It is a compromise. You have to give something to take something. You have to break eggs to make omelettes.
Right.
There might be some sacrifices that need to be made. There would be lots of gains for everybody as well.
Mm-hmm.
Joining more of a collective effort in decision making, in foreign policy, in security, in stability,
Right.
freedom of movement,
Sure.
and so many other benefits.
Well, if there ever is a major Balkans conference where we can figure out all these problems, I hope you're part of it.
Well, I hope, but I know people in the Balkans are very knowledgeable, very hardworking people, very intellectual, and very intelligent people, and
Yeah.
put it that way. And I think they will find solutions to a lot of their
Right.
concerns.
But I think they welcome input from academics like you from Washington and from Brussels and other
Okay.
areas. So
I'm
hopefully,
waiting for the
yeah,
invitation.
hopefully we can work together.
Thank you, Daniel.
So this has been The View from Washington. Thank you, Leftharius,
Thank you,
and
Daniel.
hope to see you again next time.
Thank you very much.